Okay, and really quickly I'm going to go ahead and load up my library, and I'm going to go ahead and I'll be dropping them inside of one of the levels I've been working on in the Unreal Engine. While that's loading, I'm also going to I'm going to give you a real quick rundown of some of the control schemes that go through the animation rigging toolkit here. Uh, One of the first things I always like to do whenever I'm working on my characters is I'll take the character and in my display layers, just like we had set the layers up before, you notice there's a Titan colon Titan body layer. The Titan, the extra secondary Titans there from when I had to reload it, we can get rid of that too when we go to the edit export file, which we will go to shortly. But usually I always like to throw these on a reference layer first thing. So this way, if I need to, I can come in and I can go ahead and go to transparency mode when I need to. I can select the controls. I can see where the controls are. And I can turn this off just as easy, and I can see the rotation of the arms. You know, this is set up to be, I believe, it's set up in IK mode. So we have inverse kinematics all times. Now, let's say you like working with FK instead. Well, it's easy enough. Whatever arm you're on, you can come in easily, flip it to FK mode. Now, you have everything forward of the joints in which you're working with. You can still lock this off. I mean, it's a very functional rig. I think the first thing I should do is get my manipulator into a local setting. It's much easier to rotate things in their local axis the way they should be. So I can come in, work with the FK, and do what I need to do as forward kinematics. Just as easy too. It sets a keyframe for when you flip from forward kinematic, and you go to, like, say, frame 10, you switch back to IK mode. You'll set up another keyframe for that section there as well. So if we go ahead and we jump 20 frames in, move it. So move it down a little bit too. Just to get an idea of what's going on. And we go ahead and go back. Notice it didn't switch back to that, but anyhow, that's just some of the controls that you can get with it. I'm still playing with using FK IK mode in my workflow. I've been using a lot more constraints for whenever I use weapons and props. All these here, just like the 100% control with the cloth. I mean, it's kind of funny looking. I mean, we're still gonna do some skinning that we gotta fix. That's what's really nice about the animation toolkit, is that you can go back at any time and you can fix up things that need to be changed around. You also have the knee controls. So if we jump up to our picker, we have not only our elbow controls, so our elbow movements, but we also have our knees. And these can also be found for any control that you end up grabbing, such as the foot. I can come into my channel box and I come down. In this list, you have all the different controls that you can find not only just in the list in the rig settings for the feet and the legs, but you can also go in and you can control different aspects of this, such as twists, everything else. Now, I believe I'm missing a menu. I am not. Okay. But for right now, we're going to go ahead and we're going to get this character set up to get him into the engine. And really quickly, let's just give him a really cool, let's just give him a, just a quick pose to set him up. But before we can do that though, we need to make sure we can get this actual character, we have him as he is now, into the engine. So we're going to go ahead and we'll close down the interface. Let's go ahead and go File, New. We don't need to save this. We'll go down to Epic Games. Let's go to Edit Existing Character. What this is going to ask you is just going to find your character and you're going to edit the export file. Going into the export file, it's going to send you back to the deformation menu. So you can come through, you can reskin things, you can go back to placement. You can place your joints when they need to be. You can even go further back and add more joints if you need to, or you can remove them, which I'm not gonna recommend that you do. But even from there, go back to deformation. I'm gonna say no to that proxy again. You can re-import all your skin weights again. I'm gonna ignore all this because this is not. I'm not going to re-import that right now. I've already saved out this export file. I haven't saved out at all, so we lost the info. I'm just going to go back to new again. But going back through that, you can go ahead. Oops, I don't want to animate. It'll ask if you want to re-import your skin weights. You can go ahead and re-import your skin weights if you changed out the bones or changed any positions. But usually I'm in this export file most. When I need to go ahead and I need to reskin parts of my character that are out of whack. Like earlier when we saw when he was bouncing up and down, his leg was popping through, his arm up here was moving around. Like those are different things I'll have to skin later. As well as I'm going to be doing the apex cloth through this menu. Right now we're not going to be doing any of the apex cloth. Right now we're just going to get this character into the game, into the Unreal Engine 4. So what we can do is we can drop this menu out of the way. We go into our outliner, and the things you're going to want to select are your geometry, and then control click on your root of your bone structure. So go ahead and go to File, Export Selection. Now we're going to export this as an FBX. I've done this a long time ago, so I'm going to re-export this again as the Titan mesh. Under your options, you're going to go ahead and go down and make sure smoothing groups is checked and triangulate. If you have any animation, you can go ahead and export that as well. Usually I only have this checked on if I'm going to be exporting my character out with blend shapes. I'll be showing you that later in another series of videos. Right now I'm going to try and wrap this series of videos up with this character getting into the engine. Now you can also come down. You also need to have your FBX as 2013. I usually keep it binary. I don't really touch this too much, but this is the one you want to pay attention to. 2013 is the one I've been using the most. You can try 2014. I don't know if it works yet, but I'm going to go ahead and do an export selection, and I'm going to save over that one I had before. And I saved out that FBX file to my external drive. Now these are warnings that we get. We don't have to worry too much about constraints exporting. We don't have any constraints. So we're going to go ahead. I'm going to go ahead and jump into Epic. I'm going to open up. When I double clicked on my file, I opened up the level I had been previously working on. So my viewport, I don't need this open right now. I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to drag over. This is set up very much differently than the defaults are. This is usually how it works. But I'm going to go ahead and pause it. I'm going to reset the viewports back up to defaults. So that way I'm working off of what you would see normally. I'm going to pause the video. I'll be right back. Okay, so I have reset up. I set my viewport back up to default that you normally get with Unreal Engine 4. So over here, I'm going to go ahead and what I want to do is I'm going to go into my character file. And I'm going to make a new file and call this one Titan. Within the Titan folder, I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to hit import. And what I want to look for is I want to go to my external drive in which I've saved out my character with the character we had just finished with in the animation rigging toolkit. And this process would also go for just as whenever you're importing other characters as well. So let me locate where that file is. And here's our Titan Mesh FBX I had saved out. I'm going to go ahead and hit open. And when it comes with the FBX import options, it's going to import as mesh. You want to import as a skeletal mesh because it has skin weighting data. We have no skeleton for this character right now. So when we import it, since it has no skeletons that it's referencing, it's going to be building a brand new skeleton in this area. We have no animations we're importing at this time. Our transforms are all 0. And we have... And real quick, I'm going to jump back over to Maya and explain what's going on with the materials here. In our Hypershade, when we exported out this character, we had 2 materials that were applied to our character. We had one that was the Titan armor, which was all this, and I also have one for the Titan body. And the only textures we have applied to these materials are color, or diffuse, or albedo maps, and we have our bump or normal maps. That's all we have applied at this time. And what Unreal is going to do when it translates this scene is it's going to look for these different materials. And we only have these 2 materials applied to this character that was exported, so it's going to make us 2 material maps right now. When we go and do Apex Cloth, we're going to need to be making some different ones. Like again, that's going to be for another day, but I figured I'd throw that out there. So we go ahead and jump back into Unreal. Now let's go ahead and check out Miscellaneous. We're not having to worry about our names or converting your scene at all. So we're going to go ahead and import all. It's going to find the referencing for those textures and those materials as it imports our FBX file. So as of right now, it's going to compile our shaders of the diffuse and normal maps. And you can take this character skeleton and you can drag him out into the scene right now. As you can see already, it's loading, so it's going to take just a second. Our character is now in the game engine. This character does have way more additional maps, but I'm going to have to go over that for another video series. But as of right now, our character is in this engine. So all of our bones are set up and everything else as well. So in the next series of videos I'm going to be putting together in the coming days, I'm going to be going through how to get your character animated, taking animations from the game engine, moving it into your character in Unreal, moving it into your character in Maya, and also using those animations, cleaning them up for your character, and bringing them back. I'm also going to be applying my additional maps I made out of Substance Painter into this character, so we'll be able to see how he literally looks in real time. Again, as we jump into our materials, and our network is very simple. It's easily made up of just a couple nodes of normal and our base color for our diffuse albedo color maps. Way up there. These are the 2 maps that Maya had in the shader at the time when we exported it out. So we have no changes that we need to make. So hopefully bringing your character into the engine was not that difficult or that hard at all. I'm going to go ahead and hit Escape and Alt S to go ahead and simulate in real time. So hopefully it will alleviate any questions you have for getting your character into the game engine at this time. So keep your eyes open for the next set of videos that are going to be coming out on getting your character to become way more awesome looking in the game engine and using the art kit to do it.